what are the controllable variables? And I think one of the biggest ones is just your diet.
How do you deal with the pressure of improvement while having a variety of practices?
Are you better at jiu-jitsu than day one when you first started? Of course you are.
You're going to be progressing little by little at certain things, and it's a very important thing to try to pay attention to small wins. What are the best bang for your buck forms of cardiovascular exercise you can pair with a weekly lifting schedule? Looking conditioned means you want to lose weight, and being conditioned means you want to increase work capacity. Yeah. You know it's real when you're like, with your spouse or your significant other and you just lay one out or they lay one out and you don't lose any type of attraction for them. If anything, you're like, I want to get in there, right?
Like, this is even better, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I love you that much. That's beautiful, man.
It's rough, though, when you have a rough day. Like, when you really are just letting off and it's just one nasty-ass fart after another. You're like, I do not know what happened to my stomach today, but it ain't good. I apologize. Like, not only do they want to go to a different room, but you want to be in a different room than yourself, too.
By the way, guys, we're going to get to your Discord questions because we're doing a Discord Q&A today. Y'all asked a lot of questions in there. And if you want to get in on the next Discord Q&A, go join the Discord in the description. But I know what you mean, man. The fucking Ninja Creamy, right? I made some ice cream with whole milk.
You got to be careful out there.
It was probably like 140, 150 grams of protein.
Oh, I thought you were 140 degrees. It's like, that probably did come out pretty hot.
But straight up, no, I did lift up the blanket multiple times last night, and it was disgusting. No. It is. Sometimes
I don't know if that's helpful.
I don't think so.
It's hard to tell what to do sometimes. You're like, do we keep it muffled like this?
Because it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Jesse Burdick bought me some shorts years ago that had charcoal in them. I never actually tried them, but the shorts have charcoal right where the butthole is, and it's supposed to like filter it out. Kind of genius. I'm surprised Lulu or Viore doesn't bring that on board.
That's actually a great idea. I would
just to blunt it a little bit. You know what I mean?
But I also have
a little bit of help.
I think that healthier men and women do pass gas a little bit more. I think that's the thing.
Well, it happens here and there, and I think if you find foods that agree with you, then that should that shouldn't be crazy. Mm-hmm. But I think when you are a healthier individual, when you do go off plan, that's when your butthole starts to light up like a trumpet.
Yeah. I'm just making excuses for myself, I guess. But
yeah, I was like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's just total bullshit.
Because I mean,
if I eat like meat and rice and things like that, and I don't go off plan, and I'm okay.
That's
my wife's gonna be like, "You're still fucking disgusting. He's a liar." That's what she would say if she was here. But I've noticed personally that I think it's lessened a lot when I eat that way. But if I have ice cream or cookies, which I eat a lot of different things here and there, I go off plan, pizza, it's on.
Again.
Yeah. No, just like if you're around somebody that does not really necessarily stay on plan and it's like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
And it's, it's bad.
Buy a Ninja Creamy though. Like, honestly, we'll talk more about it on another day though, but you can make it's ice cream, man. Mm-hmm. You told us about it after you made your ice cream, but it's ice cream.
It's fucking crazy. It does take a while, and you got to like freeze it, and there's like a little bit of a process. But all I can say is like just get one. You still need a blender, which is kind of fucked. You need a blender. You need to blend shit up, and then you need to put it in the creamy thing, and then you put it in the freezer. So there is a process, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, get a Ninja blender because luckily we already had a Ninja blender. Just make your favorite protein shake. I put 2 scoops of This Is the Way, and then I put 2 scoops of one of these steak shakes. I think it was 2 scoops of Keto Pro, 2 scoops of steak shake, and it was with all the milk.
Yeah.
It was probably a 140, 150 gram protein bomb of ice cream.
With like 200 grams of fat?
Shut up. And I also put like a scoop of collagen.
Shut up.
It wasn't 200 grams of fat.
I made it at home. It's healthy.
I still woke up at 249.
There you go.
So
hey,
looks
that's
like
all that matters.
Hey, looks like we're good.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. With the malted milk and
it takes some work to try to figure out how to like have it be manageable calories, but you can figure
calories,
it out.
schmalaries. It's all about the protein, guys. All right. Y'all ready for the first question?
Yes, please.
I'm ready.
All right. This is a good one. This is from Marisol.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the Boulevard shirt jacket from Viore. Very soft, isn't it? Yeah. And this is the Optimus
but
pant.
Underneath it feels pretty hard. Wow.
Yeah.
You hard all over like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sometimes.
Only soft in one spot.
Oh, whoa.
All the time.
Is it warm too?
Warm?
Warm and soft? No?
What are you getting at?
Oh, nothing.
No, what are
I
you
thought you
getting
were putting
at?
the vibe out there.
I think
Sorry.
he was talking about his pecs.
Yeah.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink. No?
I don't know. Yeah, it's I don't know, creamy, soft. I have no idea. But from Marty Zoll. Anyway, actually, yeah, Boulevard shirt jacket from Viore. This is like I think one of my favorite long sleeves. I have this in all their colors. It's very nice. Question: how to recover mental and emotionally from an injury? So, how to recover mentally and emotionally from an injury? Thanks in advance. Your answer will help cheer up my boyfriend. Love you guys. Greetings from Mexico.
That's a really sad question. She's like, oh, he's all bummed, you know?
Yeah.
That's great that someone's looking out for somebody like that.
Yeah.
I guess I would say that what are, if you can start to list out maybe a couple things that you can do, maybe that will get you from maybe that will keep you from crying like a little kid when you start to cry hysterically and you got the and you're doing all that and you got the snot and everything going and then someone, an adult says something to you that calms you down and you start to your face starts to go a little bit more normal rather than you crying so hard. I think if you can start to think about, okay, it sucks. I really twisted my ankle really bad.
Yeah.
And it's bad. Like it's going to be messed up for a few weeks. Maybe even you need a cast or something, or maybe you have to put your arm in a sling or something like that. But if you can start to gravitate towards what are the 3 to 5 things I can still do right now, then that might give you some, that might make you happy and excited. And you're like, shit, now I just get to shift my focus and work on something different.
Mm-hmm. That's why we always talk about having a lot of different options of things you can do. Like Mark, you've picked up running. You have bodybuilding, you have powerlifting. So let's say you injure yourself deadlifting and getting ready for a powerlifting meet. You can still do some bodybuilding work. You have a lot of different body parts you can work on. And depending on the injury, you can figure out other things that you can do. But one thing that I think is really important to do, and I was watching this documentary on this jiu-jitsu athlete. His name is Buchecha. He's one of the greatest athletes ever. And he had this horrible injury in one of his tournaments where he went on the mat, and on that mat, like someone torqued his knee, he tore his ACL. That was the year he was supposed to kill it, right? But he made sure he asked the promoter right after his injury, like when he was able to fully heal up, he did Worlds the next year. He's like, I want to compete on that same mat. Right? Because in his head, it was like that was a dragon he had to beat. He had to go on that mat. He had to get through that match on that mat so he wasn't stuck in his head. And I think that's how we can kind of look at injuries. If you do something to your back or your ankle, do your thing, rehab. But when you're healed, maybe it might not be a bad idea not to run away from what got you injured initially. Maybe see if it was a movement, see if you can do it without pain, right? So that you can set that mental image to, I can run without pain. I can deadlift without pain. I can do this without hurting myself. So it's not always something that you're completely afraid of. I think that's a big deal.
When I got hurt with a big squat, that was the thing. I was like, I need to figure out how can I squat again, and how do I not be scared of it? So the first order of business was like, let me work on, when the time's right, let me work on just doing some body weight squats. And then maybe I'll figure out ways of adding weight. But it took a while. One thing I think that's important about an injury is that I don't think you should really try to do much of anything about it in terms of like trying to really focus in on the point. There are some things, and we can kind of go over those things of what you can do.
Yeah.
But sometimes like messing with something, like if you really hurt something pretty bad, it basically just needs time to heal.
That is true.
If you tweak something and now you got like some weird sciatic pain, and you can mess with like myofascial release, there's the voodoo floss bands you could use if you tweaked an elbow or an ankle. But if you got like seriously injured, you're in an accident or something, or you got hurt playing a sport where someone collided into you, a lot of times these things, they just need some time. So that can be annoying. But again, hone in and focus in on what are some things that you can do. What are the controllable variables? And I think one of the biggest ones is just your diet. Like you can, let's say if you're a power lifter, you can now shift and say, hey, this is a good opportunity for me to actually lose a little bit of weight. Maybe I'll knock off like 20 pounds, and I'll kind of reassess after I do that. So, and then just, again, if it's something that you did to your ankle or your knee, your body's going to thank you if you weigh a little bit less as that area is injured. It's not going to be as laborious for you to move around with that part of your body hurting while you're 20 pounds heavier.
It's really hard when you are prepping for something and then an injury occurs. But that sucks, but saying like, hey, this is just part of the journey, like the whole process is getting hurt. It's coming back from that. It's learning. But outside of that, I would say just like understanding that like it's just going to take time, like period. Like no matter what, like if you're trying to get better at squatting, like it's just going to take more time. So understanding that you may be hurt right now, but you're not going to be hurt forever. You're going to be hurt for a little bit, and then you'll be fine, and then you'll get back to what you were doing.
Exacto mundo.
Let's just give a couple examples. Nsima, I know that your like foot/ankle has been bugging you a little bit. I see you like jump roping all the time, and you're doing lots of things to like get that area moving more. It's almost like you're trying to work an area and you're just trying to make that area stronger. Is that about right?
That's exactly it, actually. That's exactly it. It happened, I think maybe 8 weeks ago now at a takedown. Someone did a takedown on me, and I landed on my ankle weird. It swelled up a lot, and I really couldn't put much weight on it.
Tell me who it is. I'll yell at them.
His name is, what was his name?
I'll say something really mean, too.
Super mean. Tell him he can't read good.
I'm trying to remember his name.
If I knew how to fight, I'd kick your ass.
His name's
No,
Yeppy.
I won't yell that. That doesn't sound good.
He was one of the training guys at San Jose. But his name's Yeppy, and he's a really cool dude. It was an accident, but I landed on my ankle weird. Swelled up. I couldn't really put much weight on it for the rest of the practice and the week after. But what I just tried to do was over time, I just tried to get more blood to the area. So I did some voodoo floss, like you mentioned. I elevated voodoo flossing every single day. When I was able to, I started putting more weight on that leg, and I started jump roping a little bit more, doing both, like getting that ankle moving. And then I'd do more single hops, just trying to do all I can to
Now you're just
bolster
randomly
the fun.
jumping up and down.
Absolutely. Because I think that's one thing that's going to, like we talked about, jumping is something that as you maybe stray away from sports that have to do with jumping, you just don't do as much. And that's definitely going to help just the ability for this area to handle impact. So that's why I jump a lot now. And my ankle's feeling pretty damn good.
And then you're also messing with the tib bar, too.
Not just the tib bar, but I'm glad you mentioned, we're probably going to talk about smashing real quick, but that day
you liked
when
that a lot. You said that helped a lot, right?
Yeah, this was something really interesting. And for all of you who maybe have some ankle issues, etc., this might be something. I was using the Kelly Starrett Supernova, and I smashed the fuck out of my tib. So I was on a bench, and I was smashing my tibialis on that. And then I got up, and then I started jumping on my ankle, and I was like, why don't I feel anything in my ankle right now? It felt a little bit stiff, but once I smashed my tibialis into that ball, it was a little bit painful to do. But when I got up, my ankle felt free. So that's part of the reason why we talk so much about smashing yourself. Makes
People, if you want to learn some shit, go on the Functional Patterns website. They have a 10-week program. You don't even have to like do the 10-week program. You don't have to be into the exercises, but they give you, in my opinion, one of the most comprehensive vantage points on myofascial release that there is. Shows you every angle, how to hit every body part. It's just insanely valuable. And I want to say it's like $100-something, but whatever the price is, it's totally worth it. I recommend it to everybody because we all get banged up and then we don't know what to do about the particular area. But in this case, if this guy is kind of bummed out about the situation, there are a handful of things he can do about it. There are sometimes some precautions, like if you broke something or you did something real major, again, you might have to just give that area time to rest and then think of the things that you can do. But some myofascial release can go a long way.
In our episode of Chris Kadowski, I forgot the episode number, but there's a lot of really good information on how smashing and pressure, how that is so good for you. So if you haven't checked out that episode, check it out.
I think we nailed that. We got another question?
We do have another question. It is from Wishing Troll. That's nice. It's like wishing well. Wishing Troll asks, how do you deal with the pressure of improvement while having a variety of practices? When your interest is being pulled by so many things, does it feel like you're not getting better if you're not just focused on one thing? This is a great question.
Thank you for asking that, because I'm currently going through that shit right now.
What do you mean?
No, well, I'm trying to get better at jiu-jitsu because I'm competing a little bit. And I want to still lift. I still want to get jacked. I'm interested in running more. And I think like with trying to get my endurance up, I think I should be mixing in some running right now anyways. But it's like, okay, I think I'm going to bump up jiu-jitsu to 4 days a week from 3 days a week. Okay, that takes one, quote, lifting day away in the middle of the week. It's like, okay, well then how much more or less do I put towards jiu-jitsu in prep for this competition?
I think improvement and consistency are, they're a little ugly by nature. You don't like, you hear people say like, just improve 1% every day. And yeah, that's a goal, and that's a reasonable goal. And if you look at the year, that actually might make some sense that you're trending where you're improving incrementally, slowly. But you'll have days that really feel like a setback. You'll have days where you'll cry over poor performances or just like being super frustrated. Like, I've been working on this. Haven't I been? Wait a second. This doesn't make any sense. Haven't I been actually working on this? I have been, right? I've been going to class every day and it's not working. Like, why isn't it fucking working? And sometimes it doesn't. John Cena has a great speech about this that he did in the ring, and he got all fired up and started yelling it. But it was really cool when he talked about sometimes things just don't go your way. It doesn't matter how hard you work. Sometimes it's just not in the cards for that particular day. But that's what improvement looks like, because you're not going to get the answers that you're looking for until you're butted up against things that you're not going to have the answers that you're looking for until you keep butting up against new questions all the time. You keep searching and searching and searching. You're trying to get better and better. But then you're like, well, fuck, what about this? Now, what about that? You keep trying to figure things out. And over a period of time, that's how you end up gaining knowledge to become better and better. But whether it be consistency or improvement, it's going to blip up and down a lot. It's not going to, you might go to the gym Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then next week go Monday, Tuesday, and then miss the rest of the week. And then go Monday the next week. And then the next week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And then repeat that whole cycle over and over again. And you might say, fuck, man, I'm not being consistent with the gym. But what were you doing previously? That's the important thing to look at. Yeah. You weren't going to the gym at all, probably. Yeah. Maybe you weren't doing jujitsu at all, probably. Mm-hmm. So are you better at jujitsu than day one when you first started? Of course you are. And of course you want to get better every day. But at some point, it just doesn't make sense. We don't always have the capacity to just like trend upward all the time. And then also that would mean, if you felt that way, that might mean that the people that you're going against are like decreasing slightly, which isn't good. You actually want them to beat your ass probably a lot, and probably not as often as you want. But the more that they kick your ass, probably the better you're going to be in the long run.
I think Andrew's got something perfect, right? Like we were just talking about this. What are you dealing with jiu-jitsu right now?
The best way I can put it is like I'm kind of in a funk. I feel like I'm moving slower. I feel like basic things that I know that I can kind of do naturally without thinking. Yeah, they're not there. It's not clicking. It's like what's going on? Like last week around this time, I was like, oh, dude, things are finally clicking. This week, it's like a deer in headlights where I'm like, oh, he's passing my guard. I forgot. What am I supposed to? Am I supposed to Granby roll? Am I supposed to set my frames right now? Like, damn, he's on top of me now, and I just I got tapped. Like, it's so frustrating right now.
But the thing is like, I think one of the reasons why maybe on the strength side of things, we think progress should be so linear is because maybe at the beginning when you first started lifting and you first started gaining strength, every week or every 2 weeks, you got a little bit more on the bar. You got a little bit more in terms of your dumbbells or your chest press.
That's a good point. And a lot of it has to do with your hormones, your testosterone and things like that. But even if you started jiu-jitsu at a young age, you wouldn't have the same gains that would match your lifting when you're 17 to 25 or whatever.
Even when coaches talk about lifting, they're like, your volume should be consistently increasing and you should be, increasing your volume from training cycle to training cycle. So there's this always big hierarchy of increase. But like you just mentioned, progressing, especially if you're trying to do multiple things, like maybe this guy is, so maybe you're trying to run and do some lifting or do whatever, you're going to be progressing little by little at certain things. And it's a very important thing to try to pay attention to small wins rather than like, trying to get better super fast. You should be like, oh, wow, this movement felt a little bit easier this time. Or I got one more set in. Or in jiu-jitsu, that submission didn't work on me today. It usually works really well, but I managed to actually escape. That's a win. It's really important to do that. And then it's also important to realize this. A lot of people mention, we were kind of talking about this once before, but a lot of people like to say, oh, if you want to get bigger and stronger, you definitely shouldn't run. That's not true, though. It's like, is the only thing you're trying to do get bigger and stronger? If that's your goal, okay. If that's your only goal, that's fine. But you can get bigger and stronger while doing some running, right? While doing some jujitsu. But the thing is you need to be patient with your progress at all of these practices. You need to understand like, okay, my focus is in different areas. I'm going to be making different levels of progress in this over time. Maybe if I only focused on one and it was the only thing I did, I could progress faster. But just because I'm doing these 2 or these 3, that doesn't mean I won't progress. It's just going to be a bit slower, and you got to be okay with that.
Got to be okay with a lot of losing, right? You're gonna lose a lot. If you think about, some of the great people, in our history. If you look at the Heinz bottle, the ketchup bottle, I think it has a 57 on it. The 57 is because there's 57 different recipes that led to that one.
Oh, wow.
And they say, like, I don't know if people know this little hack with ketchup, but when you're a fat guy, you learn these things. If you chop it on the 57, the ketchup comes flowing out a lot easier.
I knew that. Yeah.
But
Wait, say that again?
So like the glass bottles, you know how it's like impossible to get the ketchup out?
Okay.
if you give it a little karate chop on the 57 where there's a little 57 number,
It's a target.
it ends up coming flying out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What a cool fat guy hack.
Yeah, that's right. There's
That's
a
awesome.
lot. There's a lot of things like that through our history. Like discovering electricity and these different things. There's people that have it's taken hundreds and hundreds of times for someone to do something to mess up, and not only mess up, but you think about like our medical history. How many people had to die for us to come to these different things where we have like more modern day conveniences. We have more modern day surgeries or medicines that can really be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had to start somewhere. Somebody said, okay, let's give him this drug. And it's like, oh shit, that one didn't work. There's a high cost to all these things. But luckily for us, when we're just trying to improve and get better, it's on a much smaller scale. But it's going to look disastrous sometimes. You're not always going to get, I still go out on runs sometimes and I just can't breathe. Like I'm not breathing well for the day. I'm like, I'm not even going fast or nothing. This is a nightmare. What's going on today? My legs are tired. Everything's jacked up. So
like that.
you'll have days that just, for whatever reason, they feel backwards. And I think they'll always be there. They'll just be there to like different degrees.
That does, yeah. That's one thing. That's not a problem though. Like
It's part of it. Yeah.
it feels like a problem on the day, but that's not how it's gonna be forever. It's just like that. That's the thing. It's not linear. You're gonna have days where just shit feels shitty, and that's cool. Get it done, back out, and go to your next day. You'll be fine.
100%. Just one more thing on just improving and all those things. Just try to figure out, try to make sure that you're actually recovering from the things that you're doing, because the inputs are important. They really are going to turn you into the person that you're trying to be. But if you're not able to recover from any of this, then you're always going to be chasing your tail. So if you're improving and then you're hitting these slumps, sometimes maybe you're like trying too hard. You're doing too much, not all the time, but sometimes that's something to kind of keep an eye on and to pay attention to. Maybe you're overtraining or under eating or some combination thereof.
There's one last thing I'll mention on this too, from what you just mentioned right there, Mark. And it's an important thing to understand if you're someone who's trying to get good at different things at the same time. You were doing lifting, right? And then you introduced running. And initially, running was something that cost you a lot. After a day of running, you'd probably come to the gym the next day and be like, fuck, I'm actually kind of beat.
I just stopped lifting for a while.
So that's
not completely, but almost completely, yeah.
you lowered the intensity of your lifts. Maybe you do some things and get a pump, but you needed to do that so that you could improve at running to a certain point that your body was okay with it enough where you can now start lifting more again. It's the same thing that happened when I started jujitsu. It beat up my body so much where I came to the gym and I felt like a useless piece of shit. So I was still lifting, but I backed off of my training volume so that my body could get used to the stresses of jujitsu. Andrew, you have a lot of experience with the different things that were happening with your ribs and your back. It's just soreness that you've never felt anywhere. But even though you do feel some of that right now, 6 months in, it's definitely not as bad as it was on month 1.
Oh, absolutely. It's totally different. But I did the same thing when I first started. I couldn't lift. I was like, I'm not going to let my body, not get unfamiliar with lifting. So I'm just going to do both. Man, I ran into a wall so fast. So I got rid of lifting completely. I brought it back. I got sick. Coincidental, whatever. My body was beat down pretty bad. So I slowly started bringing it back. And then now I was doing a pretty good 1-to-1, like one day on the other. And then, so now again, kind of going back to all of this, it's like, I think I'm going to ramp up the jiu-jitsu training more. And so therefore the lifting might take a slightly step down. But even with that though, it's like that slightly step down is still going to be very effective in the long run.
I will say this, sometimes it's good to totally stop. but sometimes it's good to try to figure out what that minimum effective dose is.
There you go. Yeah.
Like try to figure out maybe I can just get a pump. Can I get a fucking leg and arm and upper body pump without killing myself in the gym just to get some stimulus and then still go do jujitsu or still go run? Absolutely. Try to get the minimum dose of it. And then over time, you'll be able to increase as you get used to all these different modalities. What's up, Power Project family? It's time to stop dressing like you're a fucking preschooler and step your game up by checking out Viore clothing. Now, I'm not one to talk. I wear a fucking pink hat that has a dog on it, but at the end of the day, at least my shirt and shorts are popping. So head to Viore because they have great stuff for your top and your bottom. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to viore.com/powerproject. That's VUORI.com/powerproject, and you guys will automatically receive 20% off your order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Let's get back to the podcast.
This is from Pay the Man. Okay. What are the best bang for your buck forms of cardiovascular exercise you can pair with a weekly lifting schedule that will help you lose weight every week, raise working capacity, as well as look and be conditioned? It's a lot of, you want a lot. What else do you fucking want, bro?
Yeah, it's a lot of things at one time. I think, sometimes with a question like this, I think sometimes people have to try to probably find more unconventional ways to like lose body weight or lose body fat. Although, figuring out ways to make better food choices and things like that are really important. I would say if I was to start at a hierarchy I don't know this individual. I don't know how much weight they're trying to lose and those kinds of things. But I'm imagining they probably have more than like 20 pounds of body fat to lose. Mm-hmm. And they'd probably like to just, knock off at least half of that in a fairly short period of time. My hierarchy would be much different than it would have looked like many years ago. I would say the first thing that you need to start to try to gain a little bit better habit with is your sleep. Just because if your sleep is compromised and messed up, it makes all your other decision-making harder. It's just going to make your diet harder. It's going to make your training harder. Mm-hmm. It's going to make your resting heart rate different. It's going to make everything different. It's going to make everything worse. And fatigue makes cowards of us all, and it makes the decision-making skills a little bit harder. So sleep would be the first thing I would work on. Do your best to try to at least lay down every night for 7 to 8 hours, something like that. Try to maybe start to get yourself to bed a little bit earlier than what you used to, maybe about a half an hour earlier, maybe an hour earlier. Put your phone away a little earlier, get away from blue light a little earlier. I recommend, trying to get some sunlight in the morning. I think that really helps with your circadian rhythm. I've also been going outside at night and just going outside for just a few minutes every night, and that seems to relax me when it's dark outside. I think some of those things will really be helpful. And then in terms of trying to lose weight week in and week out, I would say weigh yourself like once a week. I would try to do your best with protein leveraging, eating good amounts of protein every day, and then picking an energy source. Like do you want to mainly utilize carbohydrate or do you want to mainly utilize fat? Pick one or the other, or if you're going to pick carbs, you got to keep the fats lower. If you're going to pick fats, then you got to keep the carbs lower, just so you're not overeating, you're not overdoing it. And I think that would be a good place to start. And in terms of cardiovascular exercises, I think you can get a lot of bang for your buck with something like an assault bike. It seems like there's just a lot of energy you can expend on that damn assault bike. So those would be some of my recommendations.
Sleep is huge. So like what Mark mentioned there, all those things, that'll make everything else easier. When you need to stick to your diet so that you don't overeat, if you haven't gotten enough sleep, all of that's going to be worse. So just really try to make sure you have that down. Now, you mentioned multiple things. You mentioned that you want to lose weight and you want to raise work capacity. And then you kind of combine both. You said you want to look and be conditioned. Look good, looking conditioned means you want to lose weight, and being conditioned means you want to increase work capacity. So, take your weight once a week, and also don't be focused on losing weight every single week, because some weeks you might be a little bit more stressed. Some weeks you might have been overdoing it for the past 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And because of all that stress, you might be holding on to water, or your body's just like stuck, and your weight might be stuck, or you might go up a little bit. So yeah, weigh yourself once a week, but it's a really good idea to take measurements of yourself. Take measurements of your waist, take measurements of your hips, take measurements of your chest area. Because some of these areas, especially the areas that you hold more fat, might be decreasing even on the weeks that your weight stays the same. That happens a lot. When I was working with competitors, there'd be 3 weeks where their weight didn't move, but their waist measurement went down consistently and their glute measurement continued to go down because that's the place where they held more fat. That shows you that you're still making progress despite not seeing the scale go down.
Right.
Another thing to remember is if you're looking for the scale to go down every single week all the time, sometimes you might be losing weight too fast. You might be doing too much. You might be losing muscle, which is going to fuck with your performance, right? You're not going to be able to put out the type of, you want to increase your work capacity. Well, if you're not able to put out what you need to do to increase work capacity, those workouts are going to be useless. So you need to eat enough to do that, right? I love what you said about the assault bike because I use my assault bike like 3 times a week. I'll legit just do like a 15-minute or some. This morning it was 12 minutes, but I'll do circuits on it. So I'll do 30 hard seconds, a minute 10, slow. 30 hard seconds, and I try to keep it nasal the whole time. And then when I really output, maybe the last 2, maybe my mouth will open up a little bit, but like my work capacity has been increasing so much just from that 12 to 15. Some days when I want to go a little bit harder, 20 minutes of doing those intervals on that assault bike. I've noticed the difference in jiu-jitsu. I've noticed the difference in how I can have higher work capacity with a lot of these things. That assault bike's fucking killer.
I think assault bike is amazing because you can recover from it. So if Nsima was going to a track and sprinting, that would be great exercise. It would be great work, and maybe we'd see some improvements. Maybe you would even get like leaner than normal, but the impact on the body would be pretty rough. So that's why a machine can sometimes be better. And if the person that we're communicating with, if you're 250 plus pounds or you're 300 pounds or you're an older person, you might even just want to start out on like an elliptical. I know people tend to think those things are silly or whatever, but you can work your ass off on those things. So just go to whatever level you need to go to be able to get a great workout, have tons of output, but not have any damage.
Yes.
So going and sprinting would be fucking awesome. And we know how jacked and ripped sprinters are. It's kind of hard. You'd have a hard time finding someone that does like under, someone that does 400 meters or under at a high level that's over 10% body fat. It's just, you very rarely see it. So we know that sprinting is amazing. However, it can have a lot of negative impact on the body. So probably pick some sort of machine to do some of your sprinting on.
Yeah. One other thing I think might be a good idea if you're trying to get into running, because obviously you've been running a lot, so there's a lot of people that are trying to get into running, right? Something that my girlfriend will do, and I'll do it with her sometimes, is we'll go on walks. And walking is just super important in general, right? But like sometimes she'll just be, okay, let's do a jog for like a minute. And we'll just go on a little jog. We'll run a little bit for like a minute, and then we'll walk again. Yep. So depending on where you're starting with your skill of running, run walks are a great introduction to being able to get yourself to be able to run a good distance. And we've talked about that a bit, but that's easy. It's something that won't cause too much fatigue, but it'll move you in the right direction.
Something like a run walk is amazing for multiple reasons, because you can conserve energy when you're walking, and you can actually put more into the running. And again, if you're choosing to run and not necessarily jog, then you can go a lesser distance. You don't have to go as far. And then if you're also choosing to run instead of sprint, then you can end up with a good speed. You can actually look at your speed. You can, get one of these apps and you can look at your mile time, and you could be excited. You can be like, dude, this is kind of cool. I'm keeping like a 6-minute mile pace or 7-minute mile pace for 30 seconds. It's kind of fun to do it. And then when you walk, you'll see it like track back up, and it might be that you're at like a 15 or 16-minute mile pace. And you can kind of leverage that excitement and utilize that to get yourself through some good workouts. I would say if you are going to run, because this guy mentioned being like having good conditioning and things like that.
Wants good,
Running is great to help build out an aerobic capacity. So jogging here and there. So if we had to kind of break it all down, hit some sprints on the assault bike, maybe go out and do, maybe over a period of time, get yourself to be able to do a longer run. That's a nice, easy jog.
Like 20 minutes.
And you might want to start out with like a jog walk at first, so you can keep most of it in the nasal breathing category. And I would like to see people eventually go from like 20 minutes to being able to go to like 40, 45. A lot of the I'm not a huge fan of like just studies, but there is a lot of research that kind of points to the fact that if you can get yourself towards an hour of zone 2 cardio every week, that it has a lot of great health benefits. So that would be a good thing for this guy to aim for over time. He could do it all in one chunk, or he can break it out into 2 separate workouts over time. So sprint on the assault bike, start to work your way into figuring out how to get about an hour of a jog in there somewhere. And then even in addition to that, you can do some walks and some running in between.
And a very small tip with the assault bike that I really dig about assault bikes is that it has that thing that you can see your wattage. So when I do my sprints, I pay attention. Like, I think when I was starting out on the assault bike, for those 30 seconds, it would be really hard for me to maintain a wattage of like 600, right? I was like, ooh, okay. But after a few workouts, now my goal is do not let your wattage go below 700 when you're in your sprint, right? So you'll feel that lactic acid buildup. So you'll know like what's reasonable for your sprint. Maybe your wattage is 500, and that's when you're like, oh, okay. So I'm just not going to allow myself to go under a 500 wattage. And then you can slowly, like, you'll be able to literally see how your work capacity increases by gauging the wattage on your sprint sessions. So then at a certain point, you're just not letting it go under 700 for that 30-second period. And it's a measurable difference in your work capacity. It's fucking awesome.
Then there's some like a little bit tougher stuff you can work on if you really want to challenge yourself. You can work in like a 3 to 8 minute range, and you can really make it tough.
Like Tabatas?
Yeah, like a Tabata type thing could be really good. Or you can do, because what that'll do is that'll help push up that'll help with your VO2 max. And so some VO2 max training can be really good. I know we're giving you like a lot of shit to do, but these aren't things that all have to be done in the context of like 1 week. You can spread them out throughout the month periodically. But basically, if you just work as hard as you can within reason and do multiple sets of, let's just say 3 to 4 sets of 3 to 4 minutes on something like an assault bike, you'll get a lot of reward from that. I actually think that type of exercise will help people with so many things. I think it will help with their sleep. I think it will help with people are hypoxic, like they're not getting enough oxygen when they're sleeping. And so I think by breathing hard, if you kind of think about it, by breathing really hard, they talk about heart rate variability, but I think we need some breathing variability. Oh, yeah. Some people don't have the ability to, like some people, if you pushed them really, really hard on something, they would be going, they like wouldn't be able to catch their breath really good. But somebody that's in really good shape would just be like a couple times, and they would be able to start to calm down from it. So you want a nice variety with your ability to breathe. So a little bit of VO2 max training would be kind of dope too.
Cool.
What else we got?
Good. So from DKB, any tips/suggestions on how to deal with gym fatigue?
Gym fatigue.
This is an easy one.
Yeah, I think the simplicity in this one is just to try to find something slightly different.
Yeah.
How long have you been at this gymming thing? How long have you been like lifting for? And are you doing the same old thing? Are you in the same old gym? So one thing you could do is maybe find another gym. Another thing you could do is find like a different type of exercise. Maybe you've been bodybuilding forever and maybe you want to switch it up. Maybe throw some athletic maneuvers in there, some med ball stuff, some sled walks, some farmer's carries, have some nice variations in there, and start to look into some different forms of exercise and some different movements. And maybe just have some different goals.
Yeah.
Like I think so many people, they just want to be like shredded, which is cool. But if you just perpetually want to be like lean, you're like abs, 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 abs. I just want abs. I just want to be lean. Then I think that chase for what you want that you currently don't have is kind of the definition of suffering. And you need to try to get yourself out of that mode for a little bit. So one of the best things you can do is switch your program up a little bit. Maybe switch over to a power program. Switch over to something that's maybe a little bit more performance-based rather than just the aesthetics look.
Yeah. And another thing you could do, you should just also literally find another form of activity that maybe you can do with people. I know we talk about jujitsu so much, so I'm not even going to go down that fucking rabbit hole, but there are adult sports leagues, right? Like we have this thing called Zoxo here in Sacramento, or Zoco or whatever. It's downtown. People have like adult soccer, adult basketball, fucking pickleball. There's like table tennis. Like there are these different things that
Community shit.
Community stuff, which number one, you're meeting new people, which is always fun. You're actually getting to engage with other people, but you're building a good sweat in. Like you're expending yourself like you typically would in the gym. Now maybe it's not with weights, but it's something, right? And afterwards, you feel good, you feel beat. You can go home, have a good meal, and go to sleep. That's awesome, right? So that's why we talk so much about jujitsu. Because like it is a community thing and it is a new skill that allows us to learn new things, right? But there's other things that you can do that can allow that. Power Project family, your normal shoes are making you weak. This is why you partner with Vivo Barefoot Shoes, because they have a wide toe box, they're flat, and they're flexible. So with every single step you're taking, if you're taking a 10-minute walk outside or when you're working out in the gym, your feet are able to do what they're supposed to do in this shoe. They have tons of options for hiking, running, training in the gym, chilling and relaxing, casual shoes for if you're out on a date. You need to check them out. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject, and you guys will receive 15% off your order automatically. Again, vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Running is very cultish.
What do you
Like you go into like a running store, you go into like Fleet Feet or some of these running places.
It is.
And they're like, are you going to join our run club?
Join a run club.
And you're like, I'm sorry, I didn't know you guys had, that's great. You have a run club. And they're like, are you going to join it? And you're like, when do you guys, you're trying to like just bullshit with them to kind of get out of it. Like,
Let
when
me
do
tell you
guys,
about Jesus Christ.
like, what happens on these runs? This is crazy. But again, it's a communal thing. You'll probably get around people that are better than you at whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you'll probably have like tons of fun with it. So I think like gym fatigue and not being super pumped about maybe deadlifting or bench pressing or something like that, I think it's really normal to just be like, fuck that, man. I don't want to listen to another Ronnie Coleman video and get all hyped up and do that shit anymore. Or maybe you just got a little older and you just like want to move on and do something slightly different. But if that's what's calling to you to do something different, then go ahead and do something different.
What about like telling somebody to just like, okay, you got gym fatigue, take a week off. One, thoughts on that, but then two, if they do decide to do that, how do they come back with like a little bit more motivation? Because I'm thinking like, oh, if I take a week off, man, what if like I never come back? How do you make sure they circle back around?
Yeah, taking time off can be huge. A week, asking a young person to take a week off of exercise is like a tough thing. But maybe they could do something different for a little while. Like take a week off, just go on some walks, and maybe if they're on vacation, maybe they have opportunity to like run on a beach or something like that. They got opportunity to do something different. Every time I used to go on vacation, I used to never lift. That was kind of like my rule, was to not lift, but it didn't mean I didn't exercise. I'd always still exercise. So coming back from any sort of vacation, I was always excited to lift usually. But I think that's a really good recommendation, is to actually just take a little bit of time off, get some reprieve.
Yeah, I dig that too. But I find it hard to take a week off of everything. That's why, like,
I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I mean, taking a week off the gym, sure, but that's why I think it is really good to have other stuff. Like have some running, have fucking pickleball, have jujitsu, have something that will allow you to use your body. Because like, I don't personally think that it's a good idea not to have a week where you do nothing with your body. You're not really like,
it's a hygiene, I think. Yeah,
it's a hygiene. Like light expenditure. It doesn't mean you have to go hard at the gym, but you can go on a light jog. You can go play a light game of whatever, just something to keep the shit moving,
You could always do some push-ups and some lunges and whatever. I mean, a lot of people work out in their hotel. Some people travel with like bands, and that's just like a different style of training. But I do think a break from what it is you're normally doing. Also maybe start to question like what led to that gym fatigue. Are you hunting down this like 3-plate bench press or this 4-plate deadlift, and you've been so obsessed with it and you've been frustrated that you're not getting it? Maybe it's a time for you just to take a little break from that.
Yeah.
maybe just find a training partner, find a training partner, find someone that likes to do shit a little different. Maybe in your workouts, you've always started every bench workout your entire life with an actual bench press, or every chest workout always starts with a bench press. Maybe fucking start one out with some, cable crossovers, or start it out with some back or something, Switch shit up a little bit differently. Maybe you haven't explored some of the stuff from Ben Patrick, or maybe you haven't seen some of the variations of some of the stuff that people are doing online right now. It's to me, it's like, it's super exciting to look at our boy Dre, all the different shit that he does with a kettlebell. Yeah. It's like, that's imaginative. Like, is it possible for that guy to be bored with training?
Every goddamn Dre. Go find his page, guys.
I don't think you could be bored, right?
Nah.
You look at guys like Russ Swole and some of these other people, they bounce around, they do different things. They're not, Russ is one of the best powerlifters in the world, and he's going to end up being an all-time great. He already is an all-time great. He's so fucking strong, but like guys like that have opportunities because they built this capacity. He can go into bodybuilding. He can mix things up quite a bit. Yeah. Jason Khalipa, I always admired the fact that he built out such a great capacity to be able to do CrossFit. And when Jason does CrossFit, even though he like annihilates himself with it, it looks like he's kind of having fun with it.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it's fun for him. Now he's doing jujitsu. He's got other practices. So I think the more things that you can, maybe you get on, one of those treadmills that you have to power yourself. You do some sprints on it, and that's your workout for the day. Like, if you can build out some different capacities, you now have way more options on what it is that you're going to do for the day.
Absolutely. Ready for the next one? You got to want to add more to that?
Let's go.
All right. This is from Sloan's Abroad. It's an interesting one. Question. Would you guys ever consider putting out power project concept for kids/families? How to integrate these concepts into family life? Kind of like how Jocko has the way of the warrior kid.
Jocko Willink is amazing.
He is.
He's like written books and stuff for kids. That guy's a monster. I think that's really interesting. I think that's amazing. I think that's that would be a really cool thing for us to explore. I think if the fans would want that, then I think that would be something I would be into. I really like, it's kind of neat to impact people. We just had the guy that came in today from the Ukraine. He just moved from his country that's going through war, and he said 85% of the city that he grew up in is destroyed. Yeah. That's really interesting to hear these stories. And he's like watched me. Like I don't even understand. I'm like, it sounds like he's got a lot on his plate, and he's thinking about, rolling through Sacramento to see me. I think that's incredible. But I think that, I forgot what I was going with that.
The stuff for kids, like integrating this stuff.
The stuff for kids. We have an impact on a lot of people, and those people have a huge impact on all those people that are around them. So when people come here to the gym, sometimes some of the people that come in, they're like, hey, next time I come in, is it okay if I bring my kid? And their kid is usually like 17, 18. It's not like a little kid. But even if it was a little kid, I would encourage them to bring him in too. But I think that's awesome. Like, this is what Dad likes to do. Dad likes to lift. Maybe you come along with me, and maybe you, learn some of these things. So I think having these things land inside of a household, not just the lifting, but the nutrition, getting on point with the sleep, I think it helps everyone. I think it helps with so many things. It helps with mental health. It helps with people being healthier and stronger in general.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I've talked to so many different parents, and they're just kind of always confused. They don't know where like step one is for their kids because they don't know where step one is for themselves. So there's a lot of opportunities for education, like, in this area. And like, I have written down a bunch of different things in regards to this topic, but yeah, I am interested in putting together something like this. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, you guys end up talking about, I don't have a fucking kid, but you guys talk about it so much, like in terms of like just ways. I think it's cool how you guys talk about it because, Andrew, some of the things that you're doing with Aurelius, some people that don't necessarily pay that much attention to health stuff would be like, oh, you're overbearing on your son. Oh, you're doing too much. Oh, you're going to set him up for this and that. Because you're doing things so differently. And I find that so weird because like you're setting up your kid to be super fucking healthy and mentally stable, and you're not putting a bunch of things that might not be as beneficial in front of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, over Easter, had a relative because my son, he got like a, plastic Easter egg and it had candy in it. And he's just like, meh, whatever. And I was like, yeah, he like doesn't even know what candy is. And she's like, oh, I wish my kids didn't know. And, like, no judgment at all, because like all kids know it. And so like I just went straight to like what Mark said about his kids and not knowing what Disneyland was when they were kids. And I'm like, yeah, my son doesn't think he's missing out on anything because he does not know it exists.
Daddy, what's Disneyland? I don't fucking know.
What are you talking about? That's fake.
Smack him as hard as you can and say, don't ever talk about that shit again.
Trauma.
We don't mention that.
When I mentioned Disneyland, I hurt. I feel pain.
He said it's the happiest place on earth. It just caused me nothing but pain.
My daddy slaps me every time I mention Disneyland. I don't like Disneyland.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So like my son, he knows steak, he knows eggs, he knows a whole bunch about like strawberries and stuff. Like he loves eating fruits and berries. So like, yeah, again, it's like I can't be judgmental and be like, well, who the fuck gave him candy, right? That's not fair.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm front loading all of the frustration in my son's life as far as being a parent. So like right now, the first couple years, we'll say the first 5 years, I'm getting a lot of shit from a lot of people. And a lot of people are like upset with me because my son doesn't eat candy. He doesn't even really eat many carbs. Ooh, nice shot. But what I'm saying is like I'm going through a lot of shit right now, so that way we don't have to deal with so much shit later down the road. Is my hope. I understand life, has a fun way of like turning and doing things to you, but at least I can do my best to set him up right now while I have that control. So maybe once he gets a little bit older, it's like, and the fat cells are like done developing in the early ages, then maybe sure you can have something that's quote unquote off plan. But right now, while I have basically total control over it, there's no way you're going to have, Ritz crackers and fucking processed cheese and all these other fake foods. Like, no, you're going to have steak. You're going to have Piedmontese hot dogs. Like you're going to have a lot of these good, nutritious foods because I can control it right now. And again, I am making decisions for him. But if I don't, he's going to have a harder time making those decisions for himself down the road.
And if your child has to worry about being like 40 or 50 pounds overweight or something like that, then it just makes their options dwindle down. Like the option to play soccer, the option to play certain sports, it might just be that much harder having that much more body weight. So while it would be great for everyone in the household to kind of be able to eat their entertainment most of the time, I mean, I think that's what kind of food is turned into. It's turned into like a form of entertainment. And it would be cool to participate in that as much as possible. But at the same time, that's not a great place to be. But I think this guy, who was the guy again?
Oh, Sloane's abroad. Her.
Oh, she. Thank you so much for sending that in, because I think that's a really cool idea, because I think we can maybe just talk about like what to do in relationships and what to do in a household, or it doesn't have to be just people that have kids, but people that are in relationships and people that are living together and they're trying to like fitness together or lose weight together, or how do you encourage each other? How do you communicate about it? My wife was amazing through the Boston Marathon stuff. I mean, she's like rubbing my legs and shit, and like just she's doing anything and everything and other places. She's doing anything and everything to kind of keep me going, and so it was amazing. And she knows like it's only X amount of time and stuff like that too. But yeah. At the same time, it's nice to have somebody that's super supportive with everything.
Cool. All right. So this question is from Zach82. What do you think of wearing zero drop shoes / wide toe box shoes all day for jobs that stand on their feet? Nurses, service industry, construction. I see a lot of these folks in Hokas and whatnot.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people are probably trying to address the fact that their feet hurt. And so I think most people are thinking that they need to stack more padding under their feet. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily wrong for everybody. But I do think that it would be a good idea to, like, if you don't have foot pain and you're putting yourself into shoes that have pretty good padding and you like them, I don't really think there's a huge problem. But if you have foot pain or you have some sort of foot dysfunction, your feet bother you a lot, and you have stuffed yourself into shoes that have a lot of padding, I think that that's only going to give you temporary relief. I don't think that's going to work for very long.
Yeah.
So I think your luck will most likely run out. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you can just, keep rocking those shoes and be okay. I don't know about like, You know, if I was somebody that worked 8 to 10 hours on my feet, that I would necessarily just go jump right into. Like, I wouldn't want anything to negatively impact my work, right? Like, while you're at work, I don't want my feet to hurt so bad on Tuesday or Wednesday because I tried to wear 0 drop shoes on Monday, Tuesday. Like, that doesn't seem like a good way for me to keep my job. But maybe it's something that you can practice and mess around with occasionally when you go on walks on the weekend or something like that and start to feel out your comfort level. Then you might be like, yeah, I could totally rock these during the week, strengthen my feet, get some of the benefit from that. And that might be a good place to, I would test it out somewhere else. It's kind of like when you go on vacation, that's not normally a great time to bring new shoes with you.
Yeah. And I think something that people can do, because, you know, as we started getting into all this barefoot, wide toe box, 0 drop shit, maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. And like, I know that when I was transitioning, you know, there would be days where I'm just like, oh, wow, my ankle or my fucking, I'm feeling that in my big toe a lot. Okay, let me wear my more padded shoes today. Or there would be days where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to wear this shoe for half the day, and then I'm going to switch to this shoe for the rest of the day. And then it just got to a point where I can just wear the 0 drop shoes all the time and not have any foot pain, because it just took a moderate amount of time for my feet to get strong enough to handle the stress of being on them all day in that fashion. So one thing, if you are working one of these jobs that you can do is you can bring 2 shoes to work. You know, maybe to start your day, you have your fucking Vivos or your Vibrams or whatever 0 drop shoes. And then maybe after 3 or 4 hours of walking around so much as a nurse or whatever, because y'all get some steps in.
You're like a chick with some flats in your purse.
Yo, yeah, honestly.
You got some hooker heels on, and then you got the flats later on at night.
Exactly. And then you pull out your fucking Hokas or your Ultras or whatever to keep your feet feeling a little bit better for the rest of the day. And then, but sooner or later, it probably will get to a point that your feet are so strong and they feel so good that you can wear your 0 drop shoes all day long and you don't feel foot fatigue. It's gradual.
And you can get 0 drop shoes that have padding on them too. So,
yes.
You know, I don't think everybody needs to like try to like man up and toughen up and wear these like shoes that hurt all the time. You know, I think the idea is to work yourself into the shoe to the point where you're comfortable enough. It's not like we wear Vivos and our feet hurt. We wear Vivos and we like them and we're used to them because our feet have gotten stronger.
Yes.
So you're not trying to wear it to like cause more pain. You're trying to wear it to make your feet more resilient over time. And therefore, if you wear the correct shoes that give your feet enough space, you'll be super comfortable. But now for us, the hard thing is for us to go back to regular shoes because our feet don't fit in them anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. My feet won't fit in a regular shoe.
No, I can't do it anymore. But I have 2 examples. So our boy Drew in India, he is a med student, I believe, but he's in, hospitals and stuff. So he's always on his feet. And he had said like, oh, dude, I'm so like bought into what you guys are doing with barefoot shoes that he got the Primus lights because he's like, which one's your favorite one? And I'm like, the one that has like almost nothing. And he's like,
you
cool.
really set this guy in, dude.
So exactly right. But I'm like, oh, what are you gonna? He said he's gonna wear them at at school or I don't know how that works for a med student, but he's on his feet a lot. And I'm like, okay, be careful. Because everything we just explained here, and he said that he did okay, but he noticed his calves were actually really, really sore. Right, going from a heel down to no heel was a big adjustment. But over time, he did the same thing. He took 2 different pairs of shoes, and he's now able to wear Vivos long term. My sister-in-law, again, she understands and like the benefits of having a wide toe box shoe, but same thing. She's on her feet all day I'm gonna butcher, but maybe like a medical assistant or something. But like she never can sit down, basically. So I had recommended Ultras, and she ended up getting the Escalantes, which, from what I understand, have like the least amount of cushion because they're like kind of like a road shoe or something like that.
Those are great. I think it's one of the better shoes out there.
Yeah, agreed. And she's like, man, I kind of hate wearing other shoes now. Because she's like super comfortable in a white, like she's like, I didn't like realize how narrow my other shoes were. So now she's loving wearing those, and she like does not want to wear anything else.
Yeah.
So again, those are 2 examples of somebody that did go pretty hardcore on the barefoot and kind of eased themselves into it. And then my sister-in-law who just went into the wide toe box, but a very comfortable shoe. And she does that every day. So I would say that like if you are going to be on your feet, go with the more cushiony side of things, but still go for the wide toe box the way Ultras are.
Yeah, always go with that wider. I think people don't even realize that a lot of people don't even realize their shoes barely fit or don't fit at all.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I have this bro theory that like certain shoes, especially like more narrow, stylish shoes, cause a little bit of nerve damage to where your feet get used to that feeling. Because the same shit happens to me.
I can't move my right pinky toe, I think, because of that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Hopefully that gets better over time.
Yeah, it's moving a little bit nowadays. Yeah,
but I still have all my old shoes. Like I have my my Nike Metcons. I have the old Vans that I was wearing, and I've put those shoes on recently and walked around with them. I'm just like, this fucking hurts because now since I've been wearing wide shoes, my feet are I'm used to using my whole foot when doing things, right? So now you go back to that sensation of being in a narrow shoe. It sucks.
Do it. I can't.
My girl's the same. Like she wore heels recently. She's like, these have never felt so bad. How have I worn these before? Because her like she's used to like using her whole foot. Now you compact it into this demon shoe. It feels horrible.
Yeah. We need to make wide toe box heels.
Dude, I have an aunt, and my mom was like, would you be able to help your aunt out? I'm like, I don't know if she'll actually listen to me. She's been wearing heels for years for work, which is unfortunate because now her foot doctor or whatever told her, you're going to have to wear these shoes with all this padding pretty much forever because like heels have fucked her feet up so much. Man. So that just really does suck. Heels suck even though they look hot. But they shouldn't know. Heels don't look hot. Get that out of your mind. They're bad for you.
But they do look hot.
I see people with like Jordans, and I'm always just like, oh, this guy doesn't know.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I'm not like, oh, those are sick. I'm like, this guy doesn't know. He doesn't know what's up.
That's the same thought.
He doesn't know what's going on. I could trip him up easy.
Yeah. Just real quick, I don't even know if this is gonna make it to the final edit, but we went to a festival thing in Elk Grove, just like a small little thing, bunch of vendors everywhere. But there was like a dope like hype beast shoe vendor thing, and it was just like a bunch of Jordans and a bunch of like rare shoes. And I'm like, damn, I am so uninterested in all of these. And I'm just looking at the dudes, checking them out, and I'm like, all of your feet are all weak. You guys are all weak. And I am so much better than all of you.
I picture Andrew like grabbing a microphone, like cutting a promo on everybody.
You're all fucking weak.
All of you. Yeah. But it's so silly to go to that, right? Like, why? But
my feet are better than yours.
Yeah.
Look at you guys with your disgusting feet. You can't even get your big toe away from your other toes. This is horrific.
Have you ever done a hat foot glove? That hurts, doesn't it, bitch?
Pussies.
We're fucking with y'all kind of not. Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we talk about sleep all the time on the podcast because it's one of the biggest things that helps you with your health and fitness, your recovery, your muscle gain, your fat loss, everything. That's why we've partnered with 8 Sleep for such a long time now, because the technology behind the mattress allows you to track your heart rate, the amount of times it takes you to fall asleep, your tosses and turns, your heart rate variability. It changes its temperature through the night based off how you sleep, but not only yourself, but maybe your partner on the other side of the bed. It is an amazing mattress. Andrew, how can they learn more?
Yes, head over to 8sleep.com/powerproject. That's 8 spelled out, EIGHT, sleep.com/powerproject. Along with more information, you guys will actually save $150 off of your entire order automatically. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
We got another question?
We do. This is from Drums and Barbells. And for the other people that ask questions that we may not get to on this one, again, we can always hit it up in the next Q&A. So hit us for next Q&A in the Ask PP channel in the Discord.
PP.
From Drums and Barbells. Could you cover all the little things you guys use during your podcast? I just got a new job and switched from working from home full time to an office. Just wanted to make sure that it doesn't take a toll on my body. There we go. I do get walks in, but anything to keep my body where it's at, or just a links page or something. Okay. Yeah. We got your handle on some of the shit we use.
Let's see.
What's under your feet right now?
Set the timer.
Yeah. Under my feet right now, I got this, like, is it Wild Gym? Is that what these things are, right?
Yeah.
And then I also have the Nabosu ball. I'm moving my foot around on those things and just trying to get my feet to feel better after doing that marathon that I just did, the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
We use so many different things, but one of the things that's been really helpful to me as a runner, and or if you're somebody that's just on your feet a lot, if you could figure out how to fill up some sort of tub with really cold water. I'm fortunate we have the cold plunge. You guys can also check that out too, but it might not be in your budget. Just getting your lower leg, like up to like your knee, submerged in some water is fucking amazing. I can't even tell you, like it feels incredible. It feels like I got new legs every day when I put my legs in there, because of all the miles of running that I've been doing. You know, you damage like your shin, you damage your calves and your ankles and all that stuff. Those areas just get tight. I also have compression boots that I'm a huge fan of. Those work really well. I just kick back in like a recliner, kick my feet up, and have those things. Those are I forget what the name of those things are. Do you guys remember?
Nortec.
Yeah, Normatec. There you go.
Normatec.
And then, you know, just it's like a long list of shit that we do. I have a ton of stuff. I have a lot of options for myofascial release, and I have a lot of that at my house. I have some of that I have some of that in my living room. I have some of that in my bedroom. I have some of that here at the gym, and I can use that wherever I need to. And then obviously, like, you know, the Within You brand supplements, like I have the Steak Shake. I have that twice a day. I use fasting gum. I use Mind Bullet. You know, I use just a really wide variety of things. When I'm training, I use a lot of the slingshot stuff, the elbow sleeves, the knee sleeves, to kind of protect myself during the run or during my lifting. So yeah, there's a huge, it's like probably an entire podcast. Electrolytes. I think we all use the electrolytes quite a bit. So yeah, what you guys got?
I would say, and I'm going to try to get a code for that soon, but the Wild Gym, if you go to wildgym.com, you'll be able to see this mat. And if we have a code by now, we'll put that in the description. But I've really been loving this thing. And let me pull this up real quick. I don't know, Andrew, if you'll be able to see it. Oh. But, okay, Mark, can you pick that up, that one you had actually? This is from wildgym.com, right? It's this mat, this middle section of it has a place where you have like there's this ball, right? There we go. There's this ball, and I'm smashing my feet on that. You can interchange these mats, so you could have that rock instead of, you know, these ones.
And this one is kind of soft, and the darkest one is really hard. So different.
Fucking lethal.
You know they did that shit on purpose, huh? They made the dark one the hardest. I wonder why.
It causes more pain? Wait.
That's not. Why do we always link darkness with evil and pain and badness, huh?
Because pain is pleasure. Same.
Did we link
thing?
it there, or is it? Never mind.
Fuck with you. But no, this thing's in the middle. You can smash your foot on this. And you can smash your foot on all the little things in here. There's a little thing where you can use your toes to pick this up and put it in the other magnet.
Little games.
Yeah, you have little foot games. It's really amazing. And like during the podcast, I'll usually just sometimes stand on one foot for like 30 or 40 seconds and switch feet from foot to foot. It's been helping my balance. And these are all passive things that we're doing during conversation. So just think about doing that every single day. If you work in an office, smash your feet on this. You're getting passive myofascial release while you're just chilling. It could really speed that up. And that's why I love this thing.
I feel so like babied, you know, doing all this stuff, and then like having the Piedmontese beef, and just it's like everything's like, I guess, really particular. I feel pretty bougie about everything.
I would say also go on Amazon, get yourself if you're in an office and you have like obviously a desk riser, so maybe you can stand for periods while you're working, but grab yourself a fucking stool, because I always have my foot up on this thing so that I'm lengthening out my hip flexors. Well, not my hip flexors, but I'm lengthening out my hips a bit, my groin area. On the other
side,
yeah, I'm pushing my knee in a little bit. It just allows me to move around in different ways, again, while we're working. And while you can do the same thing while you're at work working. If you want to get yourself a grip thing, I have this Captains of Crush thing that I'll use. And what I'll do when I drive is I'll just hold it for 30 seconds in one hand, just keep the grip gripped. Then I'll hold it for 30 seconds in another hand and keep it gripped. And you could do this while you're chilling, where you just have some passive grip work, and it has made a difference with my grip, right? So these are passive things, man, that you can do.
Even something as simple as like bringing protein powder with you, like to work. Like you just have it in a bag or have it in a bottle or whatever. It can make your eating, you know, during the day a lot easier, rather than you going and just eating some bullshit for lunch.
Yeah, real quickly on my end, because I do sit down to run the podcast, but I use a kneeling chair. So it's basically you sit down like a chair, but most of the weight is some of the weight will be pushed down to your knees. So your knees are actually kind of propping you up, and there's no back to it. So The biggest thing that I noticed, because when I hurt my, I guess, hamstring, whatever you want to call it, a little while ago, and I couldn't sit here because it was pretty painful to do that, because my knees are kind of, they're close to my hamstrings, and that caused pain. So I went back to a regular chair, and what I noticed right away is when I sat down, I leaned back and I'm leaning on it like this, and I'm like, oh, this is bad.
To like a side.
Yeah. So I was putting my elbow on one of the armrests, but my whole body was leaning into it, and I was just slouching. I just felt lazy and gross. So with this, I don't have that option. So I'm forced to be sitting upright. And so that has helped a lot with my back. Like, that was one of the first things that I switched over, and I switched over all the chairs at home that I work at. And that helped a ton. So I do that. I do have a wild gym, like the inserts under my feet when I can get to them. I can't put a lot of weight on them because I am sitting, but I will like mess with them with my feet and that sort of thing. Sometimes I have those Nobosu grip things back here as well. But yeah, and then I have one of the balls as well. Like, I'll get the half of the neuro ball.
You can get that on Amazon, by the way.
Yeah, and I'll dig into like a forearm or something, and I'll find it, and then because this has grip, it'll like grip the skin, and I can twist it, and it like just I don't know, it feels good to have something just like just like scratch and grab the shit out of you.
This guy's
good as that sounds.
This guy's question is mainly about like stuff to do like at work.
Yeah, just like passive things that he can do at work. So
there's a lot of things you can do that are free too. I didn't know if he was like just looking for gadgets and stuff, but I mean,
yeah, he was asking about the stuff we use.
If you occasionally like anything that's going to encourage you, I know Nsima's got those like blocks that you can do like body weight moves off
base
of.
Block trainers. Yeah,
things like that are great. Like if you just have handles. It's funny because you could drop down and do push-ups anywhere.
Yes.
But if you have handles that are for push-ups, like you have like the perfect push-up or something, or you have a slingshot or something that's going to encourage you.
I remember the perfect push-up.
To go and do some push-ups. If you have that near your desk, maybe you'll hit some push-ups here and there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can go like going on like a walk. I mean, wearing some toe spacers, like anything that's going to just help you feel more comfortable while you're at work. And I think, I think just getting in a little bit of exercise, we always talk about getting sunlight. Hopefully the guy kind of already knows about some of those things, but getting outside, we do that a lot here when we're podcasting. We're like, oh, let's just get some sun for a few minutes, because you kind of just, your energy dips. And I think it's even better than a cup of coffee is just go outside for a walk, get some sunlight.
Oh yeah. And then I would say a slant board as well. Like if it doesn't take up much space, and you can, whatever, do your 10-minute, whatever amount of minutes squat you can, it definitely promotes, having a longer squat. But yeah, getting down in that deep flexion, like after sitting down and then or even standing, getting down into a deep squat, like feels so good. But then also like doing it on a slant board just makes it funner, and it makes it, for me, it makes it a lot easier.
That's clutch. I'm happy you mentioned that, guys. Yeah, that's huge. Got a slant board, and then like if you want to be that person, you got the wild gym mat at your fucking desk. You got a slant board in the corner, maybe a fucking perfect push-up or the base blocks push-up thing. Then maybe a light kettlebell, because there's a lot of little things. Like if you go on that slant board, you can, every now and then you can just do some slant board squats, or you can fucking do some Jefferson curls and lengthen out your back a bit while you're at your office.
Most likely it's just going to get other people excited to like, they'll be like, dude, what's that? Like a couple people are going to be like, you're weird. But a couple other people are probably going to be like, dude, I want to get one of those. Where'd you get that? You might have a little culture going on.
Yeah. And it shouldn't take up much space, but also to like, if you have your own office, you can easily just put a Smith machine in there.
Smith machine 4 or 5.
Because let's be honest, if you're listening to this show, you are that guy. You are that girl. You are that person that's like going to be over the top. So just, go all in. Just get a whole gym for your office.
Yo, I gotta tell you this, man. Like like for example, this mat or whatever, all the stuff that we've got, I've noticed that I fidget and I move more. And we've kind of mentioned this before, but I think that, like, for example, having this underneath my feet, because I'm passively moving while I'm talking and whatever, my NEAT has increased. And people love to say that you can't increase your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's a thing that it's the way you burn calories when you're not trying to exercise, right? But I'm not trying to exercise right now and while we're podcasting, but my feet are always constantly moving around on this mat. I am burning more calories while standing around, even though that's not my personal goal. So just by changing the environment, I've managed to increase my NEAT because of the things around me. it'll have a big difference over time.
It's just encouragement to
encouragement.
move a little bit more. Andrew, take us on out of here, buddy.
All right.
There was one last good one.
There's another good one.
There's one last. There's more.
Wait.
There's more questions, which we won't hit all of them, but there's one last good one that I want you guys to hit real quick. Okay, this is from, and for the people that we didn't get, remember, join the Discord, hit up the questions, and we'll be able to get your questions on the next Discord Q&A. From Sun. Do any of you guys believe in the Mike Mentzer mentality of training when you're only supposed to train like twice a week, but with really intense workouts? Also, didn't Mark Bell do like 1,000 milligrams of testosterone per week for like over a year at some point? I didn't see that one. That was part of the same question. Did you?
Probably. Yeah, I think so. That's not that much, really. Yeah.
Yo,
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. Who's asking?
All right, some motherfucker might not think that's true. They go, 1,000 mgs isn't that bad per week? That's actually bad, right, Mark? You don't want to do that.
Well, I don't think it's bad. No,
it's not bad.
necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
a
you want to
gram?
be careful.
People do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
gram of testosterone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you said 1,000 grams, then
Okay, no,
Well,
you said
yeah,
1,000
that
milligrams.
person's really strong.
Yeah.
So maybe it was Mark Bell.
How about the Mike Mentzer thing? It's like you should be going hard for 2 sessions, and they should be so hard that you can't go to the gym the next day. What do you guys think about that?
I like a lot of Mike Mentzer's principles and ideas. I also think that sometimes people are trying to be like captivating and they're trying to have like something to talk about. So I think that he maybe sensationalized that a little bit. I do think he did draw attention to the fact that people were doing too many sets and working out too often. But at some point he just made it more and more ridiculous as time went on. He went all the way down to like saying like, let's just smash like one really hard like rep. And it was like, it was a rep that was done after you did something, really hard previously, and you would do like isometric and stuff. But anyway, he drew a lot of attention to this kind of heavy duty style of training. And we saw Dorian Yates utilize it with a lot of success.
Did.
And I think there's other people that utilize similar training protocols with success. I think what it draws attention to is that you don't necessarily need a ton of hours in the gym to be great or to have a really great physique. You don't need nearly the amount of time that you would think. If you go in there and you get what you need and get out, you can be in the gym for 45 minutes and have an awesome workout. It's just that you're going to have to think about it a little bit more. And Mentzer was a guy that he didn't do 4 sets of 4 different exercises per body part, the way you see a lot of bodybuilders do. He would do maybe 2 different exercises. He would do about 1 to 2 sets. Sometimes need like a warm-up set. He would do like 1 to 2 sets per each exercise that he did. And that second set would be like, all right, here we go. We're going all in. Some of the issue with that is like, you kind of feel like you need to be pretty hyped for those workouts. And you might start to rely on stimulants, and you might not feel them that much. And when you're training, you might be like, oh shit, I don't have the same. So I've trained that way before. I like it, but you can get yourself into a weird spot where you're trying to manufacture like fake energy because the intensity of the workout is so high, or at least that was my understanding of it. The intensity of the workout is so high that it's like, it's hard to push into that every single time you work out. So I think Mike Mentzer had great principles and great ideas, and I still utilize some of those methods from time to time when I want a shorter burst for a workout, or I might use it on a particular exercise. But I also don't think that you have to perpetually train that way all the time. I think a good question to ask yourself when you hear about certain principles or certain ideas is, why don't I just adopt some of that here and there? Like that's a great mentality to utilize some of that training, but that doesn't mean I have to discontinue powerlifting or discontinue my CrossFit workouts. I could still do some other stuff that I like to do and mix that in.
Failure on certain sets, not all of your sets, right? Won't cause as much fatigue. I can understand if like you only have 2 days where you can actually train in the gym.
Yeah.
Make those, if you want to, you can make those days as hard as you'd like, right? But if you can spread it out, I think that is a better long-term approach to have multiple good workouts. They don't have to be 2 hours. It could be, again, 45 minutes to an hour, right? You'll be able to get in overall more work, more training volume, and you'll be able to get in good training. And it won't beat you down so hard where you don't have the motivation and the ability to go and get another good training session in. So it's maybe good to try out here and there, maybe good to implement certain ideas into a specific workout, but I don't think that I wouldn't do that. I never did that to gain my size, so I don't think you need to.
It's putting way too much in on one day, and I think it doesn't leave much for the other days. But I know that he's talking about like lifting twice a week.
Yeah.
But even just effort otherwise, like with running or anything else that you want to do, it just can make it really difficult.
Yeah, I think that style would run me personally straight into the ground because it would be a lot of volume for just 2 days. And then it would also make me probably not really look forward to those days. And it might even like kind of stop me dead in my tracks to even go into the gym. So that's, again, I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
There's other people that are like, like, no, like this is my life and I'm super hardcore and I actually enjoy that. And that's great. But I know for me personally, like that's what would happen. But I think the answer is somewhere in the middle where it's like, okay, don't do, 7 days in a row with like 30 sets of everything. But I think maybe this is too far this way. Because I like what Hamza was saying a couple videos ago where he was saying like people just aren't working hard enough. And so he recommended like if you're doing dumbbell press, go in and do one set as hard as you can, just the one set. Because you might be grabbing 65-pound dumbbells and like, oh, I can do, 5 sets of 20 or whatever it may be. And like, but that's absolutely it. Like I can't go any more than that. But then you do one set and it's like, holy shit, like I actually got 40. And then it's like, well, if I'm being honest, I probably could have done like 45, but at 40, I was totally gassed and like, that's it. So I think, some people maybe aren't working hard enough and that's where something like this could help. But I think it is, it's just a little bit too violent.
It's a lot when you're doing it. Like it's painful, but I think it's good in a way. Like I think it's kind of fun in some way, but at the same time, like I'm saying, it's maybe a little too much. That's it. All right. Andrew, take us on out of here, buddy.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. And Nsima's going to tell you how to get in on this type of Q&A in the future. So make sure you don't miss out on that. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. And Nsima, where are you at? And tell people how to do this again.
I told you multiple times. I ain't going to tell you again. But if I have to tell you again, it's in the description. The Discord's down below. People are popping over there. Questions are coming in. It's a good old time.
Shots fired.
At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. At Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter, Mark.
Mike Mentzer, by the way, had a sick physique. Can you bring up a picture of him? He looked incredible.
Mike.
But again, I think, drawing attention to, people just like overdoing it. I think when you bodybuild, so he's recommending, you go all in and you only do it like 2 or 3 times a week. You only do it for 45 minutes. The opposite of that is what a lot of bodybuilders do, where they go in 5 to 6 times a week and they smash themselves. I think what Nsima is alluding to is that may not really be all that necessary for bodybuilding, because in bodybuilding, if you were to do 4 sets of 10 of some incline dumbbell press, you can have an intensity that would be high, but you wouldn't have to scream. You wouldn't have to make crazy faces. If you went every minute on the minute with your sets and you chose weights that were challenging, and you lifted with a really smooth eccentric and concentric, that would be, some bodybuilding sets of incline bench that would induce some muscle hypertrophy without you going crazy, without you throwing the hundreds down, then grabbing 60s and doing another 20 reps and stuff like that. So I agree a lot with what Nsima is saying here. And then plus, I think if Mike Mentzer was still around today, I think he would probably like to adopt some of the ideas that we've been talking about here on the show a lot, which is kind of microdosing your fitness, because I just don't think people thought about those things in the 70s and 80s. I don't think they had the luxury to. There was a lot less people that were worthless losers like us that don't have regular jobs where we can just sit around and play fitness all day. And so we can kind of periodically like hit up some sets here and there.
True.
But anyway, I'd rather put a little more frequency into it as well, because I think working out like twice a week is kind of unmotivating.
Yeah.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.